Believe it or not, it's already been 4 years since the first legendary Geekvolution Mock Presidential Election, and it's time once again to nominate fictional characters for a fictional public office. Last time, in a neck-and-neck battle, James Gordon of the DC Party just barely beat out Professor X of the Marvel Party, leaving the tick of the Independent Party with about 7% of the vote. The Geekvolution community chose their four-colored leader entirely on its own, with no interference from me or my co-hosts. The top 3 most nominated characters for each party went to the primaries, and then you voted between the 3 remaining contenders to choose the president. This year we'll be doing exactly the same thing. However, rather than seeing Jim Gordon run for re-election, we've chosen instead to hold an election for a different set of pop culture figures. Rather than pooling from comic book characters for this year's unlikely politicians, we've decided to go to science fiction and science fantasy. We're drumming up the pointless, but for our purposes here, potentially intriguing rivalry between Trekkies and Star Wars fans. The mainstream parties this time will be the Star Trek and the Star Wars parties. There will also be an independent party once again, made up of any science fiction or science fantasy characters outside of those 2 properties. Over the next week, we'll be asking you to nominate characters for each party in the comments. Unlike in a lot of states in real life, every Geekvolution viewer will be allowed to nominate characters for all 3 parties, as well as vote in every party's primary. Once we've narrowed it down to just 3 hopefuls, 1 from each party, Geekvolution hosts will stand in as proxies for these characters in a rousing debate, and you'll have the chance to compete in the mock presidential smear campaign contest, in which the viewer with our favorite political ad will win a prize. We'll also show several of those ads during the hour-long live election coverage show the week of the real-life presidential election. But first things first, it's time for our opening round of nominations. In the comments below, please choose 1 Star Trek character you'd like to see run for public office. You can choose based on a character's experience with diplomacy, his or her prowess in battle, his or her command expertise, or you can treat it as a social experiment. Nominate the most outlandish character you can think of and see if the whole thing degenerates into an absurd popularity contest. There are no restrictions on who can be nominated, but for this round, it must be a character who has appeared in any iteration of Star Trek. Please only nominate 1 character 1 time in the comments. If you like someone else's nomination, feel free instead to thumb up that response in the comments, and your thumb will count as a vote for that nomination. Once again, the top 3 most nominated characters will go into the Star Trek primaries. The Star Wars round of nominations is scheduled for Friday, and then we'll do the Independents on Monday. See you then, and thanks for participating. Live long and prosper, may the Force be with you, and so long, and thanks for all the fish.